All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Luka. I would first like to thank everyone for this amazing content and these keynotes. I'm sure there's plenty more cool stuff coming up in the coming days. Today, I'm going to be talking about why not to get married to a single technology. I work at IRNAS. IRNAS is a custom hardware development company based out of Maribor, Slovenia. And so we build complete hardware solutions for different applications for different clients around the globe. I'm glad to say that we are a recurring guest at the TTN conferences. In 2018, we were talking about how we use drones to best place our gateways and devices outdoors. The year after, we were discussing the underwater LoRaWAN applications, which is still a very, very relevant topic to this day. In 2020, we touched on how we are trying to be clever about implementation on our edge devices so that they can survive over 20 years. There's plenty more topics and projects that we've explored during the 8 years of our existence, but they all have one common denominator. They all deal with some kind of digital transformation at any stage. We also touched on the digital transformation topic at the latest virtual TTN conference, where we were discussing when is it a good idea to take an off-the-shelf solution and deploy it, when is it better to take a generic design and tweak it to your needs, or what is a good time and place to go fully custom. And today, I would like to top that discussion up with a bit of a business-level decision-making and see whether we can make sense of digital transformation in IoT. As you probably all know, IoT has been absolutely instrumental in digital transformation sphere, and it's probably one of the first things that companies go look into when they're trying to undergo that transformation. I was really glad to see Mr. Leonard Lee from NextCurve talk about IoT market development, also in one of the TTN conferences, where he was pronouncing the importance of mapping out the technology to market needs and not vice versa, and the dangers of getting caught in the kind of speculation and hype cycles that IoT has encountered. So today, let me take you about a typical inquiry that we get at IRNAS almost weekly, and see what kind of approach we are taking to come up with a useful solution. First, for that, I need to take you about 15 years back. As a student, I worked as a roadie, so I was building up those big concert venues and tribunes, and while I'm really far away from that business now, my very good friend Kevin isn't. Kevin is still in that business, and eventually he got hired by a concert equipment rental company as a field specialist in a position of a project lead. So the company was small at the time, and they grew over the years into an enormous company that can account for, that can take care of about 20 live gigs at once, with huge warehouses full of boxes, loudspeakers, microphones, all the stuff you can imagine. So the costs of maintenance, the cost of tracking the logistics, the dealing with insurance and all that has become unscalable. They just need to hire more people and have more painful work. So Kevin, an electrical engineer by profession, he did a bit of reading, he knows about LoRaWAN, he's heard of these asset tracking devices, so he comes up with an idea, why don't I build a product that will help me and my company have like a device that will help us automate a few of these processes. So he wants a LoRaWAN tracker, type of a stick on and forget device with real-time access to its GPS location, with long enough battery life, and it has to be rugged enough to survive everything that the concert equipment goes through. So that's where he gives us a call and he says, hey, you guys, I've got this idea, can we talk about it? And he comes over to our offices, and that's where we take him through the product requirements design process. And this is where we at IRNAS have taken a few steps back and have really tried to design and engineer our approach, battling the kind of supply side perspective of things. So we have this original idea that we need a LoRaWAN live event equipment tracker, right? We may be right, we also are likely very wrong, so we're trying to take approach from the bottom up, really first understanding the problems that a typical loudspeaker, for example, has on its journey, and Kevin's company has in the management of this part, in order to design how the solution should look like. So I asked having to explain, what does a loudspeaker go through? How does it suffer? So he starts talking, and we split up everything that's happening to a loudspeaker into different locations. So it all starts at a warehouse, right? And Kevin explains how he needs some kind of a system to know that before things get loaded onto a truck, he still needs a system that tells him that they are actually in the warehouse. Sometimes his database will show them, and his contract will show them, so the lists match, but the things are not actually there, so they get lost somewhere. Then, while they're on the truck, they've got a problem that if the truck has to go really far and the driver has to sleep, things get stolen, the truck is broken into. So he needs some kind of a system that will constantly detect the presence of items in the vicinity, right? For the road, he also needs GPS location because of the logistics. He needs to call his customer, hey, the truck is going to be there in half an hour, have the team ready to load it off. At a venue, same thing. Some things stay on the truck where it should have been loaded out. Some things get stolen. So again, he needs some kind of a detection system, right? Then we touch upon the maintenance. So right now what they do is they operate through kind of deposits, right? So a percentage of money that a company pays for the entire gig, they will keep, and then if they can pinpoint that a certain damage on a piece of equipment was done by that customer, then they won't return the deposit. While it's a clever system, it doesn't work because typically the damage accumulates over time, so it's never like a finger-pointing kind of thing. So he needed some kind of system to track, stronger fall or poor storage conditions, so that he could probably point out, issues and point out the events where serious thing happened. In the last 2 minutes, I briefly went through something that we build on for a day or two, right? So the learnings from here is we really try and understand the problem, understand the people involved, understand their capabilities and what's going on at every step of the way. So right now, we know we need to know that equipment is somewhere in the vicinity, wherever it is, either a truck warehouse or a venue. We need to track the truck similar way that we track, for example, a parcel with about, every half an hour GPS fix is fine. We need to know that equipment hasn't been exposed to anything unusual, any mishandling or any poor storage conditions. Sometimes we need a GPS location, but very often we don't. We need to be able to avoid the constant interaction with this tracker because we don't want Kevin to go and fix trackers as much as he fixes loudspeakers. And it needs to be really, really stable in order to have a good use for Kevin. So remember that we began by LoRaWAN live event equipment tracker. And also notice that up until this point, I've never mentioned any technology, any connectivity, anything of that sort. So up until now, we've only been talking about the problem that we are solving and trying to understand the situations that we need to handle and where Kevin loses money and where he can make more money. So we end up with the fact that we need to cater for two cases. One is these big complete service rentals with fleet of trucks going out full of equipment. Probably we would need some kind of Bluetooth beacons with a gateway, which is then GPS tracked, and it has to be all very stable. But also to cater for smaller clients that only rent a few pieces, we probably wouldn't go that far. We would just put like a single item GPS tracking system on board. At this point, we then start designing how this system could look like, right? What technology we would be using, how we would design it. And there's no better person to talk about this than our CEO, Luka Mustafa, who was supposed to be there today, but he's back home with his newborn baby on a paternal leave. He made the effort to record his thoughts, so let's have a listen.
Hi everyone, it's nice to be back with you virtually this year as well. So unfortunately I can't join you, but I can share some really nice insights and some useful tools how to think about digital transformation with the technology available today and things that are coming up in the future. What we see in a lot of cases now for the transformation challenges is that we need to build solutions which are multiple technologies, multiple wireless protocols, and essentially using a combination of various aspects to create the solution which works perfectly for the end user. So today I'll walk you through a concept called perfect wireless technology, where we think about what's actually needed for the digital transformation challenge. And then we'll look at the specifics on combining LoRaWAN, NB-IoT, LTM, GPS, and various other positioning and communication techniques into interesting product concepts. Perfect wireless technology is a concept we use when we think about the transformation challenge or developing a product. What should a magical piece of technology know that would perfectly fit the use case and allow us to do everything we would like. Now, obviously, we don't want to come up with something that doesn't exist and it's too complex. So the best approach is to really minimize your wishes and really boil this down to the bare minimum requirements. So there's the largest search space for the right technology or the right solution. And what this allows us is building products which are not fit to a technology specifically, but really building products that are fit to the use case and technologies used to support that use case. And this is actually quite a big difference, because otherwise we get pulled into the limitations of, say, LoRaWAN or NB-IoT or anything else. And then we're building really specific solutions. So let's apply the perfect wireless technology to an indoor use case. The perfect technology allows us to have a box, have a unit there that sends "hello, I'm here" message, and that gets picked up by something in the vicinity, so we can link that message to a specific location. Now, approaches to doing that, there's quite many. What we've seen works best in various use cases is you use simple Bluetooth beacons and you detect them in the building, or you use LoRaWAN or NB-IoT devices with Bluetooth beacons and scanners, so they can report where they are or what things they see around them. So either it's mounted to a wall or you have a few smarter boxes in your warehouse. An example of this is, for example, with our client Telesport, which does that for animal, actually sheep tracking. So you have a big sheep and you have small lambs, and that's a nice combination of the two. So for the transit use case, we have options A. Kevin has his own fleet of trucks that always take his stuff around. There we can do quite a lot more. Or Kevin gets a random trucking company to take his stuff from point A to point B. So overall, the perfect solution would be that every box we have can transmit its position, its neighbors, all of its own information, wherever in the world, to the cloud. Now, given that we want to minimize the complexity of this, we can slim this down to say maybe some of the more expensive pieces of equipment should have that capability, and the rest can have more simpler pieces of tech in there. For example, in Smart Parks use case, where we've created the Ranger tracker for really rugged applications, we combine LoRaWAN and Bluetooth to see in Bluetooth there's devices around which are in close proximity and send it through LoRaWAN. Here we can do the same thing for boxes. The discussion is LoRaWAN the right one or NB-IoT? It really depends. Can you put a gateway on the truck, which is then mobile connected, or you need to be straight off mobile connected from the device itself. Now, a use of technology which is also included in smartphones like Bluetooth, the advantage there is you can run a smartphone app and just see like the inventory. Here's the stuff that's in the truck. And that can be quite useful if you're checking things upon arriving at the venue or just looking, where is that box? I'm trying to find it. All right, so now we are at the venue. We arrive there with 10 trucks of equipment. It gets set up, and when we leave, we want to take all the equipment and not forget something in some corner. The technology is rather similar to the one we've discussed in the trucking case, but the range significantly needs to be increased because we can't say we're in a truck or in a warehouse. We might be in a football stadium or a concert hall. So the perfect technology has a range to cover all of that and some position capability so we can know is it in a truck or is it just somewhere randomly in a building. The technology specifically where we see, so over Bluetooth, actually LoRa for communication is necessary, so we can talk to all the pieces of equipment, but they internally need to have positioning mechanisms so we know where they are. Either Bluetooth to scan for beacons, for example, Wi-Fi to see where in the building they are, or actually GPS position, like LR1110 or 1120 are nice options to add that quite at a low cost in terms of power and device complexity. The last part is longevity of equipment, or actually just normal insurance claims. As you know, the rental business, there's also a lot of wear and tear, misuse of equipment, and different use cases. So while the perfect wireless technology doesn't really play that big of a role here, because if something is broken, it doesn't matter if you know right away or in a few days, unless the case is that you have another client waiting for the box there, but it will come back damaged or damage is likely. So the perfect solutions we have there is including technologies like just plain sensors, accelerometers, temperature, humidity, tracking voltages and temperatures. For example, for really most advanced and expensive pieces of equipment, we can combine that with edge impulse machine learning models on devices themselves, tracking anomalies. For example, we can use thermal cameras like one of our partners, Calumino, has for low power devices, and really create a bunch of different solutions which tell us, hey, the box type A is coming back, it might be damaged, it got dropped 3 meters, it got left out in the rain, all of that, take it into service, don't put it to another client which will come back unhappy. So we talked about the Kevin's case, we talked to Kevin, and here's what we established. There's space for 2 products in this case. One is the high-end product, which ultimately you should have LoRaWAN, NB-IoT, possibly even Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, like pretty much all the technology in there that goes into boxes that cost several thousands of euros, or you bolt it to your truck, or you put it at your venue. And then there's space for a cheap product, which can, in a limited use cases, be, for example, Bluetooth only, or with Bluetooth and LoRaWAN, you can cover most cases and just bolt it to a box and have a simple one there. By combining the two and a set of sensors, you not only create a tracking and digital transformation solution for your logistics operation here, but actually create an opportunity for an extra, pretty much added value in this case, which is early detection of problems, claiming back damages, and recovering the cost you would otherwise incur yourself. And by that, you offer also a better rental service to your clients as they don't get broken equipment and everything is in a good state.
Right. So this was the tech insight. What have we learned so far? We've learned that we came very, very far from the initial LoRaWAN tracker requirement. At least it was not complete, if not wrong. So digital transformation, it's important to note, happens on a company level, right? So as much as we would like it to be, technology is not the cool guy here, right? In our case, we have a really clear demand, a really clear problem, and we didn't need to invent anything. All our job is to look at our technological portfolio and utilize the best possible combination to solve the problem. Even at this point, this doesn't come without risks. We are creating a coupling solution, complex enough that Kevin's company right now isn't able to handle themselves, right? Even if today this solution existed and we handed it out to Kevin's company, they don't have the right guy to operate all this. So we are risking that the costs that they're bearing now of the logistics and maintenance and insurance and everything will just be transferred to technology operation rather than logistics and all that stuff, which is not the point of this whole collaboration. I'm sure you all know that IoT is extremely complex. We need to take care of the technical level, the business level, we need to think about the future, we need to think about the competences of people. So it's not an easy task to include it in a global picture. While we love the generic designs and they get you to the end point or at least to a prototype very quickly, very often they are not completely catered for what you need. So you end up customizing at least a bit of the solution, right? You're risking here that you're co-developing with your customer, which can be a bad idea. It definitely means that you're not building a market-ready product which has been large-scale tested. And you're risking at this stage that your customer becomes a subject of experimentation, which we should avoid at all costs. All we need to do is utilize our technology, but also make it autonomous and robust so they can keep doing whatever they are doing. To succeed in digital transformation, we need to think long-term. We need to make sure that Kevin's company understands that typically they're signing up for a long-term subscription with a developing company or a technology provider company. It's never a one-off gig. And because that takes a lot of effort and it takes internal kind of reforming of his company, we need to lead them on the ways that they think about how they can monetize this on multiple fronts, right? If we build a simple solution, it's very likely going to provide very little, and it won't benefit as much compared to how much it costs. Alternatively, if we go to a full complex solution, we might be solving many business-related problems for Kevin, but the solution is more complex, a little riskier, and we'll definitely need to get some professional involved. We should not approach this digital transformation by selecting a technology and then squeezing it out and seeing what it can do, finding a problem to our solution. But we first need to forget everything we know. Then we need to focus around the problems and pretend that a magical technology exists. Then we ask ourselves, okay, if there's technology, what should be able to do, right? What does it have to have for me to have an easier life, earn more money, or spend less money? Then I look at a palette of the technologies that I master and pick the most fitting combinations. And the most important part, I should not get married to any single one of them. Thank you very much for your attention. Is there any questions? Yeah, go ahead. It's fine. Cool. Well, I invite everyone to the booth 820 to spark some interesting debate on this topic or any other topic. You'll also have a chance to meet all of our partners that we've mentioned in the presentations, Telesport, Calumino, Smart Parks. Everyone will be there. So thank you very much for your attention again, and enjoy the coming 2 days. To live in the moment.